Have you ever looked at a historical figure and thought, wait, which edition of this guy is real? Congratulations, you just met Cao Pi. You see, Cao Pi is one of the most mentally exhausting characters in all of the three kingdoms. Because no matter how you judge him, the opposite argument also works. The emperor who was both capable and passive. Let's start with his ability. Was Cao Pi incompetent? Well, no. Under his rule, the state of Wei stabilized, rebellions were suppressed, and the economy recovered. That's obviously not nothing. But was he a bold strategist? Also no. When Sun Quan and Liu Bei were busy tearing each other apart across the river, Cao Pi basically stood there like, interesting. Let's not get involved. So, was he strong or cautious to a fault? Yes. The brother who was cruel but didn't kill anyone. Was Cao Pi ruthless? Well, he famously embarrassed his younger brother Cao Zhi, forcing him to compose poetry on the spot to prove loyalty. But did he massacre his family like many emperors did? Nope. His relatives survived. They just lived very carefully. So was he heartless? Or just extremely paranoid? Again, yes. Why everyone thinks he's a villain? Part of Cao Pi's bad reputation comes from pop culture. Thanks to Romance of the Three Kingdoms, most people remember him as the guy who schemed against his own brothers, the jealous foil to Cao Zhi, the link between his father and Sima Yi. In many later stories, Cao Pi barely exists. He's just the boring emperor standing between two legendary minds, which is wildly unfair. Because historically, Cao Pi was nothing like a background character. A very complicated family situation. Let's rewind. Cao Pi was born in 187 CE. His father, Cao Cao, was not only a military genius, he was also not great at family boundaries. Cao Pi was the second son. The first son, Cao Ang, had better status and was basically the heir. So young Cao Pi's future looked limited, but not terrible. Little brother of the emperor isn't exactly a peasant's life. Until Cao Cao made one terrible personal decision. During a campaign, Cao Cao slept with a relative of a surrendered enemy general. The enemy rebelled. Chaos erupted. Cao Ang gave his horse to his father so Cao Cao could escape. Cao Ang died, and just like that, Cao Pi accidentally became the oldest surviving son. History sometimes turns on moments like this. From spare prince to crown prince. After that incident, Cao Pi suddenly went from a spare son to legitimate heir. And from that moment on, Cao Pi stuck close to his father. While his younger brother Cao Zhi became famous for poetry, drinking, and not knowing when to shut up, Cao Pi learned something very important early. Talent gets attention, control gets power. The literary emperor you didn't expect. Here's the ironic part. Cao Pi loved literature. He wrote one of the earliest fully developed 7-character poems in Chinese history. His work influenced poets all the way to the Tang Dynasty, over 400 years later. He enjoyed fruit, music, and the arts. He was by temperament a cultured arts guy, which makes what he became even more tragic. The succession war that changed him. Cao Cao delayed naming an heir for years. Officials began choosing sides. The court split between the Cao Zhi camp and the Cao Pi camp. Cao Zhi had raw talent. Cao Pi had political discipline and support from powerful aristocratic families. In the end, Cao Pi won, but the process left scars. By the time he inherited power, Cao Pi had learned trust no one, especially family, cleaning up his father's mess. When Cao Cao died, the north was not peaceful. Rebellions broke out. Local powers tested the new ruler. The frontier was unstable. Cao Pi crushed the unrest, stabilized the state, and only then declared himself emperor. This is the part people forget, that transition was not easy, and he succeeded, which makes what came next confusing. The emperor who feared his own bloodline. Cao Pi depended on aristocrats to rule, so he created systems that benefited them. But at the same time, he crushed his own royal family's power. Princes were tightly controlled. No private armies, no real autonomy. They were rich, but politically harmless, which sounds smart, until you realize that decades later, when the Sima family made their move, there was no strong Cao family left to stop them. So, who was Cao Pi, really? A poet who ruled like a lawyer, a stabilizer who avoided the opportunity, a suspicious man who never fully trusted success. He wasn't a hero, he wasn't a villain. He was something far more interesting. A ruler trapped between an old imperial system and a new aristocratic reality. And that's why Cao Pi feels so contradictory. Because he wasn't failing. He was adapting to a world that no emperor could truly control anymore. Cao Pi isn't remembered because he was flashy. He is remembered because he embodies the tension of his age. And sometimes history's most revealing figures aren't the conquerors, but the ones holding everything together just long enough for someone else to take it apart.